Welcome. I am Natasha Elkington, your TV host at the GLF Bonn 2018. And today I'm here with Ada Osakwe from Nigeria.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Natasha.
Thank you. And she's also the founder of agri-business Ventures, right?
Yes.
And you just finished the finance plenary with an all-women panel.
It was amazing.
Tell me about that.
No, I just think it was just fantastic. It's never happened. I've been speaking on panels for quite a while now, and to have a panel of only women on such a powerful topic, finance, or
Right.
financing landscapes and agriculture, you don't see that. So we suddenly made the exception, a norm, right? And having all powerful women speaking on this. So it's fantastic because I'm also very passionate about gender lens investing and thinking about more women being involved when it comes to money. So having a panel that had all women's powerhouses was fantastic.
Great. And what were some of the highlights of the plenary?
The plenary today was awesome because we had, ladies who were speaking about issues from how do we blend finance from different types of organizations, so be it public sector or development finance as well as private sector. We also talked about the importance of bringing women to the forefront in terms of women being actors in the value chain, and we have to make deliberate, intentional efforts to finance women in landscapes.
Right.
And specifically issues around even just private capital, and at least for me, I'm very passionate about issues around food systems. So not just the agriculture and the production, but the value chain and taking it all the way to food, because that's really how you transform livelihoods.
Okay, great. So why don't you tell us a bit more about agri-business Ventures?
So agri-business, I started it about 3.5 years ago after a long career in finance, development finance, and then moving into the public sector. And it was when I realized that a lot of money was going into too few opportunities. People were talking big investment sizes and always looking out for big transactions, $100 million. I want to invest in a factory, and that's what they're trying to do. But to me, I was like, there are more young entrepreneurs out there who just need $1 million to really take their business to the next level, and just smaller amounts. So I was very passionate about finding a way to start doing those investments in young, passionate, focused and committed entrepreneurs in the agriculture space that were doing that. Specifically in Africa, we were spending about $40 billion annually importing food that we can otherwise produce locally because we have all the land, we have young people. So for me, it was about how do I start investing and transforming that narrative and making sure that we were keeping entrepreneurship on the continent going in the space of agriculture. So that's really what agri-business does. We look for early stage young people doing things in the food value chain, and we support them.
Great. Are there any interesting investments that you have with agri-business that you'd like to mention?
Sure. There was a young lady I met a few years ago, and she more or less buys fruits from farmers in Africa, specifically West Africa, pineapples, mangoes, and she dries these fruits and makes it into a snack product.
Okay.
So rather than us spending, like I mentioned, $40 billion importing food, which includes things like snacks and tomato paste or milk or whatever, she was using what we grow locally, transforming it, adding value to it, and making it into a beautifully packaged snack product that today is now sold on Amazon, and she's exporting. So that's very exciting, and we did an early stage investment in her, and she continues to grow year on year. So that's one of the things.
Great example. Yes, exactly. Great. And then so we talk about the $100 million fund that you created for small, medium enterprises.
Yeah. So this was when I was in the Nigerian government, and I was tired of us going to commercial banks every time and saying that you're not funding agriculture, you need to fund our farmers, you need to fund agro-processors, and the banks would say, oh, it's too risky. So we're like, you know what, let's try and find other ways to think about putting capital and finance to work, and one of these ways is to use equity and supporting them with money that you're a shareholder in the business, and with that you support the business up to a point where they can then go to a bank. So decided to work with KfW, the German development bank, and in an innovative financing structure, we basically, as a government, Nigerian government, put $20 million into setting up a private equity fund that would invest in small and medium enterprises across the value chain. So not just the farmers, but the processors who would buy from farmers, the retailers who would sell the agricultural agricultural produce and the food. And it was exciting. We put that money in. KFW also put some money in. The fund, we gave it to a fund manager. So we are not government running this fund.
Right.
And that was very important because it was all about sustainability. Governments come and go.
Right.
You never know what would happen. So that was very important. And then after that, we were able to instill confidence, and the fund managers were able to raise money from private sector as well. So they ended up actually at about 96 million, which is fantastic because this is an area that people hadn't truly invested in, and we hadn't gotten private capital to agriculture. So yeah. Very proud of that.
Yeah, very exciting. and AgriLays invested in a new product, right? Is that what you already spoke about, the Newly? Newly,
yes.
Tell me about Newly, yes.
So for me, I had been an investor for so long and policymaker and talking about what should be done or what shouldn't be done. And at some point, I was like, you know what, Ada, you go experience it. See what these entrepreneurs feel, when they're actually building businesses. So I rolled up my sleeves and I said, I'm going to start a business in agriculture, in food, and try and take it to another level. It's been a roller coaster ride. It's been amazing. We started Newly. Newly stands for, it's a Nigerian name, coined from a Nigerian name meaning happiness. So it's inspiring a healthier and happier generation. Yeah. We buy fruits and vegetables from farmers locally, and we make it and transform it into juice products. So we have a range of cold pressed juices, carrots, beetroot, spinach, all in a juice. And then we also have a chain of restaurants, started from one, obviously we're now at 5 in the last 2 years, that sell salads, smoothies, and food items that are all from the farm, from local smallholder farmers. And, it's just exciting to see that we can build a brand, a food brand, with only locally grown indigenous products from our own landscape. So that's showing sustainability for the farmer all the way up the value chain. So excited about what Newly has to offer down the line.
Yes, very exciting. It sounds very exciting, very cool. So we'll end our conversation on basically on women, because it's a very important subject. We're half the population.
Yes.
So how important are women's voices when it comes to landscape?
It's so important. Half the population across the globe, in Africa, specifically as you think about landscapes and issues around agriculture as well, about 80% of the farmers are women. And we know that when we finance and support women, you're supporting an entire generation. Women take care of the families, the children, and they just use their money better. So it's a better return on investment. So it's unfortunate that we have these biases in our heads that we don't do enough when it comes to deliberately supporting women across various sectors as well. But specifically on landscapes and livelihoods, women truly have the potential to transform livelihoods in a way that can change the world.
Yes, indeed. And what do you think in terms of the GLF playing a role in this arena?
I think it's very important. The GLF has already been a front runner in dealing with some of the critical issues that would affect the planet. Everything from the launch of the youth initiative. My continent at least, by 2050, 1 in every 3 young person in the world is going to be a young person.
Right.
So the youth are so important, and GLF was already doing something there. So in the same way, in the same vein, it'd be very interesting. It may already exist, I don't know, but to have a very deliberate initiative around women in landscapes.
Yes, indeed. I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.